The blade slides between my ribs like a whisper again. It's a cold, intimate violation, a chilling secret shared between my husband and my heart. Blood, warm and viscous, begins to pool beneath the heavy silk of my coronation gown, its crimson stain spreading across the intricate gold embroidery. I look up, my gaze locking onto the man above me. Crown Prince Marcus, my husband of 6 hours, my murderer for the third time. The newly minted emperor's crown glints atop his dark hair, a cruel halo in the flickering torchlight of our royal bedchamber. His wedding ring, a thick band of platinum I placed on his finger myself, catches the light as he twists the hilt, driving the steel deeper into my chest. The metallic taste floods my mouth, a sickening combination of copper pennies and betrayal, mixed with the lingering sweetness of the expensive wine from our celebration feast. Just moments ago, we had toasted to our future, to the prosperity of the Valerius Empire under our joint rule. The nobility had cheered, the servants had smiled, and I, for the third time, had allowed myself a flicker of hope. Hope that this time things would be different. Hope that the man I'd been betrothed to since childhood had a sliver of decency buried beneath his ambition. Hope is a fool's luxury. Rage, pure and incandescent, burns hotter than the searing pain in my torso. It's a familiar fire, one that has been stoked and tempered across 3 lifetimes of naive trust, repaid with cold, calculated murder. The first time, I was 20. A hunting accident. An arrow loosed from his bow found my back. He'd wept convincing tears at my funeral, the grieving husband who had lost his beloved empress so tragically, so soon. The council, moved by his sorrow, had consolidated his power without question. The second time, I was more careful. I saw the ambition in his eyes, the subtle ways he isolated me from my allies. I tried to gather evidence to warn my father, the king. But Marcus was always a step ahead. He framed me for adultery, a heinous crime for an empress. The proof was irrefutable. His spies ruthlessly efficient. He didn't need an arrow that time. A quiet dose of poison in my evening tea was enough. I died in disgrace, my name a curse on the lips of the people I had tried to protect, while he played the part of the wronged, stoic husband, solidifying his rule through pity and righteous anger. This time, on our coronation night, he didn't even bother with subtlety. My father, the king, had passed just last week, his heart finally giving out after a prolonged illness, an illness I now suspected was no work of nature. With my father gone and the crown on our heads, I was the only thing standing between Marcus and absolute power. So he waited until the castle was quiet, until the guards were drunk on celebratory wine, and he came to me with a kiss and a dagger. My lungs struggle for air, each breath a ragged, wet gasp. I can feel the life draining from me, the torchlight beginning to swim and blur. Outside the heavy oak doors, the castle sleeps. Dawn breaks in 6 hours. In 6 hours, a chambermaid will enter to draw my bath and find her new empress dead in her chambers. Another tragic accident, perhaps. A stumble in the dark, a fall upon a decorative blade. Marcus would craft a flawless story. He always did. He would cement his sole rule, his path cleared of the final obstacle. But as the darkness begins to take me, a real smile touches my lips, a grim, bloody curve that makes Marcus recoil slightly. He sees not fear in my eyes, but something else, something cold and ancient. He sees the memory of this moment, played out twice before. He sees the promise of a reckoning he cannot possibly comprehend. Because this time I remember everything, and this time I have a plan. The third time, they say, is the charm. For him, it will be the curse. As my eyes flutter closed, the last thing I feel is not the pain, but the burning, unyielding certainty of my return. The board will be reset, the players will be in their starting positions, and I will be ready. I wake with a gasp, not of pain, but of cold, clear air. The scent of lavender and lemon polish fills my nostrils, a stark contrast to the cloying smell of my own blood that clings to my memory. Sunlight streams through the tall, arched windows of my chambers, illuminating dust motes dancing in the golden shafts of light. My hands fly to my chest, pressing against the smooth, unbroken skin over my ribs. There is no wound, no blood. I am in my 16-year-old body. The tapestries on the wall are the ones I had replaced a year later. The book on my nightstand, a collection of dull poetry, is one I had given away for my 17th birthday. My reflection in the silver mirror across the room confirms it. My face is younger, softer, the hard lines of suspicion and grief not yet etched around my eyes. It is the year 312 of the Valerian dynasty, 3 years before my first death, 3 years to change my fate and the fate of the empire. Panic, a cold and familiar snake, tries to coil in my stomach, but I ruthlessly crush it. Panic is what got me killed the second time. Hasty actions, born of fear, made me predictable. This time, there will be no fear, only precision, only vengeance. I sit at my writing desk, my hand steady as I pull a sheet of heavy vellum towards me. My mind races, sifting through years of memories, of conversations overheard, of secrets whispered in corridors. I need an ally. Not a friend. Friendship is a vulnerability I can no longer afford. But someone whose interests align with my own. Someone with skills I lack. And a reason to hate Marcus as much as I do. Captain Alara of the Royal Guard. In my first life, Alara was a stoic, unshakable presence at the fringes of the court. Professional, efficient, and utterly loyal to the crown. In my second life, desperate for help, I had dug into her past. I learned of her younger sister, a lady-in-waiting, who had died suddenly of a swift and violent fever. The official story was a tragic, natural death, but I, with the grim knowledge of Marcus's methods, knew better. Her sister had overheard something she shouldn't have. Marcus had silenced her. Ilara never knew the truth, but a seed of doubt had always remained. A quiet, corrosive grief that kept her from ever truly warming to the crown prince. I dip my quill in ink. My handwriting is the elegant, practiced script of a princess, but the words are sharp and direct. Captain Alara, I require the keys to the northern dungeon, all of them. Meet me at the old aqueduct bridge at midnight. Your payment will be a pouch of gold sufficient to buy you a new life far from this court and something far more valuable, the truth about your sister's death. I fold the note, seal it with a blank wafer of wax, and summon a junior serving boy, one too new and too unimportant to be in Marcus's pocket. Deliver this to Captain Alara of the Royal Guard directly into her hands. Tell no one. I press a silver coin into his palm and he scurries away, eyes wide. The first piece is in motion. That night, I do not wait for Alara at the bridge. I go to the royal gardens, to the secluded gazebo where Marcus and I shared our first awkward, politically arranged kiss. In my hand, I hold our betrothal contract, the elegant scroll detailing the union of our houses, the document that seals my doom. I light a candle and touch the flame to the corner of the parchment. It curls, blackens, and catches fire, the flames consuming the intricate calligraphy that binds me to my murderer. The acrid smoke stings my eyes. You seem troubled, my dear. The voice is smooth as silk, laced with a concern so perfectly fabricated it could fool the entire world. But it doesn't fool me. I don't even have to turn to know Marcus is standing behind me, his shadow falling long across the manicured hedges. I let the last corner of the contract burn away before I drop it into a stone urn. I turn to face him, my expression as placid as a frozen lake. He is younger, too. His face not yet hardened by the acts of murder and betrayal I know he will commit. He is handsome, charming, the perfect storybook prince. A beautiful lie. Perhaps we should discuss your recent behavior, he continues, taking a step closer. I hear you've been asking questions, sending cryptic notes. It's not like you, Leanna. You're right, I say, my voice devoid of the warmth he is used to. The Leanna you knew is gone. I look him directly in the eye, letting him see the chilling absence of the adoring girl I once was. There's nothing to discuss, Marcus. I know what you are. I know what you've done, and I know what you plan to do. This engagement is over. The carefully constructed mask of concern slips for just a fraction of a second. A flicker of genuine shock, quickly replaced by cold calculation, crosses his features. He had expected a pliable, love-struck girl. He was not prepared for this. Leanna, you're being hysterical, he says, his tone shifting to one of condescending authority. The pressures of your station are getting to you. You need rest. What I need, I interrupt, my voice like chipping ice, is for you to stay away from me. I will be petitioning my father in the morning to have the betrothal officially nullified. A notice will be sent to the council. By sunrise, the entire court will know. I see the fury flash in his eyes. He is a master of control, and I have just ripped it from his hands. Our marriage alliance was the cornerstone of Duke Aldrich's support for him. Aldrich, his primary backer, and a man of immense wealth and military power, expected to secure his family's influence through our union. The announcement of our broken betrothal, delivered so publicly, will throw Aldrich's plans into chaos. It will force Marcus's hand years before he intended to play his cards. You will regret this, he hisses, the charming prince vanishing completely, replaced by the cold killer I know so well. No, Marcus, I say, turning my back on him and walking away, the gravel crunching under my slippers. I'm just getting started, and this time, you're the one who should be afraid. The air in the dungeons is thick and cold, smelling of damp stone, mildew, and human misery. It's a physical presence, clinging to my cloak and filling my lungs. Torchlight casts long, dancing shadows that writhe like tormented spirits on the moss-slick walls. Beside me, Captain Alara's breath comes in short, sharp puffs, her usual military composure frayed at the edges. Her hand, holding a heavy ring of iron keys, is trembling. He told me she fell, Alara whispers, her voice cracking. He said she was fetching a book for him from the upper library, lost her footing on the ladder, and broke her neck. He looked me in the eye and said it was a terrible, tragic accident. He lied, I say softly, my gaze fixed on the heavy, iron-banded door at the end of the corridor. Your sister Anya didn't fall. She overheard Marcus discussing a shipment of arms to the northern rebels with an emissary from Duke Aldrich. He wasn't arming them to quell an uprising, he was arming them to create one. A manufactured crisis he could later solve to look like a hero. As Anya was going to tell the spy master. Marcus had her pushed from the library window and made it look like a fall. A single tear cuts a clean path through the grime on Alara's cheek. The key she selects scrapes against the lock, the sound deafeningly loud in the oppressive silence. All these years, I let him comfort me. I accepted his condolences. His comfort is a weapon, Alara. His sympathy is a poison. Never forget that. The lock groans in protest, and with a final, shuddering click, the door swings inward. A wave of stale, fetid air washes over us. In the far corner of the cramped cell, a figure stirs. Chained to the wall, cloaked in rags and filth, is Lord Garrett, former royal treasurer of the Valerius Empire. Or what's left of him. 2 years ago, in this timeline, Lord Garrett was accused of embezzling a vast sum from the royal coffers and selling state secrets to the rival Kalen Republic. The evidence, presented by Marcus himself, was damning. Garrett was stripped of his titles, his lands were seized by the crown, and subsequently gifted to Marcus's allies, and he was left to rot in this forgotten hole. Everyone believed he was a traitor. I knew he was framed. He was too honest, too meticulous, a man who loved the empire more than his own life. His real crime was discovering Marcus's quiet siphoning of funds to build a personal war chest. Lord Garrett, I say, holding the torch higher. He squints, his eyes unused to the light. His face is a gaunt mask of starvation, but behind the matted beard and grime, I see the flicker of a keen intellect that hasn't been extinguished. Princess Lyanna? His voice is a dry rasp. Have you come to gloat? I've come to set you free, I reply, motioning for Alara to unlock his shackles. And I've come for your help. You were framed. I know it, and I need you to help me prove it. His chains fall away with a clatter. He stumbles to his feet, weak but resolute. He took everything from me. My name, my honor. Why should I trust you? You are to be his wife. The betrothal is broken, I state flatly, and Marcus will not be king, not if I have anything to say about it. Just as Garrett takes his first unsteady steps toward freedom, the heavy door at the entrance to the dungeon corridor creaks open. Guards. Not the usual dungeon keepers, but the pristine, silver and black uniformed soldiers of the Crown Prince's personal retinue. And standing between them, a smug, triumphant sneer on his face, is Marcus. Well, 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 he says, his voice echoing off the stone. A midnight rendezvous, a princess, a disgraced captain, and a traitor. It's almost poetic. My blood runs cold, he found out. He moved faster than I anticipated. Alara draws her sword, placing herself between me and the guards, but we're hopelessly outnumbered. We are marched not to a holding cell, but directly to the throne room. The great hall is dimly lit, but the king's throne is illuminated, and sitting on it, as if it were his own, is Duke Aldrich. His portly, florid face is a mask of stern disapproval. Several members of the royal council are assembled, looking disturbed and confused. My father is conspicuously absent, likely sequestered in his chambers, fed whatever lies Marcus has concocted. Marcus strides to the center of the room, radiating righteous indignation. Council members, I apologize for the late hour, but I have uncovered a plot of such venomous treason that it could not wait for morning. He throws a scroll onto the central table. It unrolls to reveal a letter, written in what looks like my handwriting. Here, a letter from the Princess Leanna to her contacts in the Kaelin Republic, detailing the weaknesses in our western garrisons. And what's this? He produces another document, this one bearing a familiar seal. Duke Aldrich's private seal, which the princess apparently stole to lend false authority to her treacherous correspondence. It's a lie, a brilliant, vicious lie. A forgery, but a convincing one. The council members murmur, their expressions shifting from confusion to suspicion as they look at me. Duke Aldrich plays his part perfectly, rising to his feet with a look of theatrical shock and betrayal. My own seal, used against the very kingdom I have sworn to protect. Princess, how could you? You think you can outmaneuver me, little princess? Marcus sneers, his voice low enough that only I can hear it over the council's worried chatter. I've been planning this since we were children. Every move, every alliance. You are an amateur playing a game you can't even comprehend. I look at his smug face, at the web of lies he has so expertly woven, and I feel a sudden, chilling calm settle over me. He thinks he's playing chess, moving his pieces to corner a king. He has no idea his opponent has already seen the end of the game, twice. And I've been planning this since I died, I reply, my voice just as quiet, just as cold. The sneer on his face falters. What did you say? You heard me, I say, my eyes locking onto his. I let him see it then, the truth of my words, the unnatural knowledge shining in my gaze. I watch the color drain from his face, the smug confidence replaced by a flicker of genuine, primal fear. It's the look of a man who has just seen a ghost. Twice. His composure cracks. For a heartbeat, he is not the master plotter, but a startled boy who has just been told the monster under his bed is real. The council is still debating the forged letter, oblivious to the silent, terrifying war being waged in the space between their princess and their prince. And in that moment of his shock, I realize the true, horrifying scope of his ambition. This isn't just about the throne. He hasn't just framed Garrett or planned to kill me. He has been systematically eliminating, discrediting, or controlling anyone and everyone who could ever pose a threat, who held a piece of knowledge he didn't control, who possessed an ounce of loyalty to the old king over him. From a lady-in-waiting to the royal treasurer. My death wasn't just an event. It was the final step in a decade-long purge. He wasn't just a murderer. He was meticulously, patiently hollowing out the empire from the inside, leaving nothing but a beautiful, fragile shell that he could claim for himself. Marcus recovers his composure in an instant, the flicker of fear replaced by a mask of cold fury. He sees I am not intimidated, that his grand reveal of my treason has failed to produce the terrified, weeping confession he expected. He signals to his guards. Take them back to the dungeons, all of them. The princess will be confined to her quarters under heavy guard until the king decides her fate. His men step forward, but Lord Garrett, frail as he is, finds a sudden surge of strength. Wait, he cries, his voice raspy but clear. If you seek the real traitor, you are looking at the wrong person. The proof of Marcus's crimes isn't in forged letters, it's hidden where he thought no one would ever look. Marcus laughs, a short, ugly sound. The ramblings of a madman and a known traitor. Pay him no mind. He speaks of the sub-treasury vault, Garrett continues, ignoring him and looking directly at the most senior councilman, Lord Valerius, a distant cousin to our line and a man known for his rigid adherence to tradition. The one beneath the main treasury, sealed by King Theron, my grandfather's grandfather. The one Marcus claimed was empty and had sealed for structural reasons 2 years ago. A murmur goes through the council. The sub-treasury is the stuff of legend, a place no one has entered for over a century. Marcus's expression tightens. This is an unexpected variable he hadn't accounted for. I know how to open it, Garrett says, a triumphant glint in his eye. The seal is not structural, it's a puzzle lock. And the key is not metal, but knowledge. Knowledge I possess. This is my chance. Lord Valerius, I say, my voice ringing with an authority I haven't used before. I am the crown princess. I stand accused of the highest treason. I demand the right to prove my innocence. Let Lord Garrett open this vault. If it is empty, as the prince claims, then you may pass your judgment upon me. But if it is not, then you must be prepared to see a truth you have long ignored. My challenge hangs in the air. To deny me would be to admit they are afraid of what they might find. Marcus can't object too strenuously without looking guilty. After a long, tense moment, Lord Valerius nods slowly. Very well, let the vault be opened. The truth must be served, whatever it may be. We proceed in a tense procession. Me, Alara, and Garrett at the center, flanked by Marcus's guards and followed by the curious, suspicious council members. Marcus walks beside me, his face a thunderous mask. Whatever you think you'll find, it won't save you, he whispers, his voice a venomous promise. I don't reply, I just walk on. The main treasury is a place of iron bars and armed guards, but Garrett leads us past the mountains of gold and silver to a dusty, forgotten corner. Behind a heavy tapestry depicting the founding of the empire is a simple stone wall. There are no keyholes, no handles. Garrett runs his hands over the stone, pressing specific blocks in a sequence only he seems to know. With a deep grinding sound that echoes through the chamber, a section of the wall recedes, revealing a dark, narrow staircase spiraling down into the earth. A collective gasp comes from the council. The air that wafts up is ancient and stale. We descend into the darkness, our torches pushing back a century of slumbering gloom. The vault at the bottom is not large. There are no chests of jewels, no stacks of gold bullion. Instead, the room is lined with shelves, and on those shelves are hundreds of identical leather-bound ledgers. What is this? Duke Aldrich demands, his voice betraying his nervousness. A library of dust? Garrett walks to a shelf and pulls down a single heavy book. He opens it on a stone lectern in the center of the room. The page is filled with his own meticulous, precise handwriting. This, Garrett announces, his voice resonating with the weight of his vindication, is not gold. It is something far more powerful. It is leverage. He turns the book for the council to see. These are the hidden records, detailed accounts of every noble family in this room, every gambling debt, every failed business venture, every lavish expense you thought was secret. He lets that sink in before delivering the killing blow. And here, he says, tapping a column on the right side of the page, is the record of your creditor, the man who so generously extended you the loans to cover your indiscretions, who saved you from ruin and public shame. Every single entry on the page listed the same creditor, Crown Prince Marcus. The room falls into a stunned, horrified silence. The secret vault contained not royal treasure, but the kingdom's dirty laundry, and Marcus held the leash on every single one of them. For years, Garrett explains, his voice growing stronger with every word. He has been using state funds, siphoned through dummy corporations I was just beginning to uncover when he had me arrested, to bail you all out. He owns you. Your loyalty to him isn't born of respect, it's born of fear. Fear that he will expose you, ruin you, and cast your families into poverty. He pulls down another ledger. And what did he ask for in return for his silence? A small favor here, a vote on the council there. Perhaps you'd be willing to turn a blind eye to a questionable arms shipment? Or maybe you'd vouch for the evidence against an honest treasurer? He looks pointedly at Duke Aldrich, whose face has gone a sickly pale white. Or perhaps you'd sell him state secrets about our border defenses to pay off your debts to foreign creditors, secrets he could then use for his own ends. The truth is a physical blow. The council members are no longer looking at me with suspicion. They are looking at each other, at their own complicity, and at Marcus with a dawning, terrifying understanding. He hadn't just bought their loyalty. He had made them all traitors alongside him. His power was a pyramid built on their shared guilt. I stand tall amidst the fallout, the torchlight casting my shadow long and resolute against the wall. I have 3 days. In 3 days, the Grand Assembly is scheduled to convene, an event that brings together nobles from every corner of the empire. It is the perfect stage. In 3 days, I declare, my voice cutting through the stunned silence, I will stand before the Grand Assembly and I will present these ledgers. I will reveal to the entire empire that the very nobility meant to safeguard it has been selling state secrets to pay their gambling debts, all funded and orchestrated by the man who would be king. I look directly at Marcus. His face is a mask of pure, unrestrained hatred. The game has changed. The board has been flipped. His carefully constructed web is unraveling, and he knows it. He has been exposed not by a sword or an army, but by ink and paper, by the meticulous records of the man he tried to erase. I don't have time for fear anymore. I don't have time for hesitation. I have an empire to save from the inside out, and a murderer to expose to the world. And I have the weapon to do it, right here in this dusty, forgotten room. The Great Hall is a symphony of celebration. The annual harvest feast is the social apex of the year, a time of forced merriment and political maneuvering disguised as revelry. Banners of gold and crimson hang from the high-beamed ceiling. The long tables groan under the weight of roasted boar, spiced wine, and mountains of glistening fruit. Minstrels play a lively tune in the gallery, but their music does little to warm the chill that has settled over the court in the past 2 days. The rumors of what happened in the sub-treasury have spread like wildfire, whispered behind gloved hands and ornate fans. The nobility is on edge. They watch Marcus, seated at the head table beside my father's empty throne with a mixture of fear and resentment. They watch me with a new, wary respect. The air is thick with unspoken tension, a powder keg waiting for a spark. I give them a firestorm. I wait until the main course has been served, until the wine has flowed freely enough to dull the senses but not the memory. Then I stride into the center of the hall. I am not dressed in the flowing silks and jewels of a princess. I wear a simple, severe gown of deep blue, the color of twilight and steel. In my arms, I carry a heavy, leather-bound portfolio. All conversation ceases. The minstrels' lutes fall silent. Every eye in the cavernous hall is on me. I walk directly to the head table, to the space between Marcus and Duke Aldrich. Without a word, I open the portfolio and dump its contents onto the polished oak surface. Not ledgers this time. Letters. Dozens of them, bound in ribbon, their wax seals broken. They scatter across the table, skidding into plates of food and goblets of wine. They are Marcus's private correspondence, retrieved by Ilara from his chambers while he was occupied with damage control amongst the council. What is the meaning of this? Marcus snarls, rising to his feet, his face flushed with fury. This, I say, my voice ringing clear and true in the sudden silence, is the price of your ambition. I pick up a single letter. This one details a plan to orchestrate a series of border raids by mercenaries disguised as Kaelan soldiers. A convenient crisis to be resolved by our brave crown prince, is it not? I pick up another. And this one, a draft of a new taxation law to be implemented after your coronation. A law that would effectively bankrupt the smaller houses and allow their lands to be absorbed by your primary backer. I nod towards Duke Aldrich, who looks as if he's about to be sick. Then, I hold up the final, most damning set of letters. But these are my favorites. These detail the slow, methodical poisoning of my father, the king. They outline the specific doses, the timing designed to mimic a natural decline in health. All perfectly timed to coincide with our wedding, so you could ascend to the throne as the grieving, beloved son-in-law ready to stabilize a kingdom in mourning. A collective, horrified gasp ripples through the hall. This accusation is 1,000 times more shocking than financial blackmail. This is regicide, kinslaying, the ultimate taboo. Duke Aldrich, his face purple with rage and panic, lunges across the table for the papers. "You meddling bitch!" he screams, his facade of civility utterly destroyed. You have no idea what you've done. My hand snaps out and grabs his wrist in a grip of iron. My training in my second life, the desperate self-defense lessons I took in secret, now serves me well. I know exactly what I've done. I spit back, my face inches from his. I've saved my father's life. Your father was always meant to die, Aldrich bellows, his words sealing his own fate. Not on my watch, I reply, shoving him back into his chair. The king's personal physician, a man I'd already summoned and briefed with the evidence, steps forward. Your highnesses, my lords and ladies, he announces grimly. For months, I have been treating His Majesty for what I believe to be a wasting sickness of the heart. But the symptoms, they never perfectly aligned. At the princess's request, I re-examined his blood this morning. The letters are true. The king has been systematically poisoned with small, cumulative doses of gray ash root, a poison known for its ability to mimic heart failure. The pieces click into place for everyone at once. The king's long illness, the convenient timing of his decline, Marcus's sudden, intimate involvement in his care. The handsome, concerned prince was, in fact, a monster slowly murdering his way to power. The letters I've revealed show everything. Marcus's plan was flawless. The king would die a week before our coronation. We would be married, crowned, and then a tragic accident would befall me, leaving him as the sole, undisputed ruler of a grief-stricken, pliable kingdom. He had it all planned. He just never planned on me remembering. A royal herald, his face pale, rushes into the hall. A message for the court. By order of the council and in light of the king's indisposition, the coronation has been moved up. It will take place tomorrow at sunset to ensure the stability of the realm. Panic seizes me. They're accelerating the timeline. The council, terrified and compromised, is trying to force the issue, perhaps hoping to placate Marcus or curry favor with whoever ends up on top. But for me, it's a death sentence. It's the final countdown. If I can't stop this, if he is crowned tomorrow, he will have the full power of the state behind him. He will be untouchable. The kingdom falls, my father dies before the poison can be fully purged from his system, and I will once again face a blade in the dark. The harvest feast has turned into a funeral dirge. The game is no longer about exposure, it's about survival. I have less than 24 hours to stop a coronation, save a king, and prevent an empire from falling into the hands of a sociopath. The coronation hall is a cathedral of tension. Sunlight, stained crimson by the great western windows, paints the marble floors in hues of blood and fire. The air, usually filled with the scent of incense and old velvet, is thick with fear. Every noble house of consequence is present, their faces a gallery of anxiety. Foreign dignitaries, invited for a celebration, now sit as witnesses to a trial. At the head of the hall, on the ancient obsidian throne, sits my father. He is pale, weakened, and flanked by physicians, but he is alive. He is awake, and he is watching. The ceremony is a grotesque parody of what it should be. Marcus stands before the throne, dressed in coronation white, the picture of regal innocence. But there is no crown to be placed on his head. Instead, the space before him is a courtroom. I stand opposite him, flanked by Captain Alara and Lord Garrett. The evidence is laid out on a table between us. The debt ledgers from the vault, the letters detailing the plot to poison my father, and the sworn testimony of the royal physician. Crown Prince Marcus of House Valerius, my father's voice, though weak, rings with the authority of a king. You stand accused of high treason, attempted regicide, and conspiracy against the crown. How do you answer these charges? Marcus laughs. It is not the charming, easy laugh the court knows. It is a hollow, brittle sound that chills the bone. I answer them with contempt, he says, his eyes fixed on me. These are the hysterical fantasies of a jilted girl who couldn't accept that I never loved her. She has conspired with a known traitor and a disgraced guard to forge these documents, to sow chaos because her petty heart was broken. Was it my petty heart that filled these ledgers with the debts of half the nobles here? I counter, my voice steady. Was it my fantasy that drove Duke Aldrich to confess his complicity? He has already given a full account of your plans in exchange for his life. From a side entrance, Duke Aldrich is led in by guards, stripped of his finery, his face a ruin of despair. He doesn't even look at Marcus. He looks at the floor. The case against Marcus is irrefutable, logical, and backed by witnesses and proof. But his arrogance is a fortress. His mask of civility finally drops completely. It doesn't just slip, he rips it off and casts it aside. The charming prince evaporates, leaving behind the raw, snarling predator I have always known was there. You think you've won? He spits at me, taking a menacing step forward before Alara's hand goes to the hilt of her sword, stopping him. You think your little documents and your senile old treasure can stop me? I have killed you before, I will kill you again. The hall erupts in gasps. The foreign dignitaries look on in stunned horror. He has just confessed his murderous intent in front of the entire world. The council stares, mouths agape. They may not understand the before part of his threat, but they understand the again. My father grips the arms of his throne, his knuckles white. What is the meaning of this, Marcus? The meaning, I say, my voice cutting through the chaos, is that he is a monster. He tried to kill me on our coronation night. An accident, he snarls. A story you concocted. No, I say, my voice dropping to a near whisper. A secret I have held for 3 lifetimes, now unleashed as my final weapon. Not an accident. You murdered me then, just like you murdered my actual brother when we were 12. Silence. A profound, echoing silence that swallows every other sound in the vast hall. The murder of the previous heir, Prince Alistair, my older brother, had been ruled a tragic riding accident. He was thrown from his horse, his neck broken. Marcus, his younger cousin and riding companion that day, had been the sole witness. He had told a harrowing story of a horse spooked by a snake. He had been hailed as a hero for trying to save him. Marcus freezes. Of all the secrets I could have unearthed, this was the one he thought was buried forever, protected by time and the untouchable grief of a king. We're not siblings, you delusional, he begins to stammer, his mind reeling. No, I interrupt, we're not. Alistair was my brother, and you let him die. No, you made him die. The snake was a tripwire you set yourself across the riding path. I found the remnants of it a week later. His face contorts into a mask of pure fury. The final lie has been stripped away. He was weak, Marcus roars, all pretense of sanity gone. He was weak and sentimental just like your father. He would have ruined this empire with his compassion. I did what was necessary. And you're a kinslayer and a traitor, I declare, my voice like the tolling of a bell. A murderer of children and a poisoner of kings. The final piece of evidence is presented. Captain Alara steps forward. In her gloved hands, she carries a small velvet pillow. Resting upon it is a dagger. It is ornate with a jade hilt and a blade of black Valyrian steel. It is Marcus's own ceremonial dagger, the one he carries on his person at all times. It is the same blade that slid between my ribs 3 times in my memory. The blade was tested by the physician, Alara announces. It is coated with a fast-acting paralytic agent, a concentrated version of the same poison being used on the king. Odorless, colorless, and fatal within minutes. My father, the king, rises from his throne. He is unsteady on his feet, but his eyes blaze with a fury that seems to hold him upright. You did this, he says, his voice a low, dangerous growl. You took my son. You tried to take my daughter. You tried to take my life and my kingdom. Marcus looks from the dagger, to me, to the king, to the horrified faces of the nobles who once supported him. He is trapped. He is finished. Guards, my father roars. Seize him. Strip him of his titles, his lands, his name. He is no longer a prince of Valerius. He is nothing. The royal guards, their loyalty to the true king absolute, now that the truth is revealed, converge on Marcus. He struggles, a wild animal caught in a net, his eyes wild with a hatred so profound it is almost a physical force. They rip the coronation whites from his shoulders, leaving him in a simple tunic. They bind his hands in heavy iron chains. As they drag him away, defeated and broken, he twists his head back, his last words a final venomous strike meant to cripple us even in his defeat. You fools, he screams, his voice echoing through the silent hall, a chilling prophecy of doom. The eastern armies of the Torvashian horde march at dawn. I paid them with the gold I stole. I promised them the western farmlands. You've just destroyed your only alliance, and I was the only one who could have stopped them. A cold dread washes over the hall, eclipsing the relief of Marcus's capture. He had a final betrayal, a dead man's switch. He hadn't just plotted to take the throne, he had planned to burn the whole world down if he couldn't have it. My personal victory has come at a terrible price. I have exposed a traitor, only to learn he has already sold us all to an enemy we cannot possibly defeat alone. The silence in the coronation hall is shattered not by cheers of victory, but by a sound that drifts through the open windows, a low, rhythmic thrumming that vibrates in the bones. It's a sound from a nightmare, a sound the capital has not heard in 100 years of peace, war drums. From the high balconies we see them. On the eastern horizon, cresting the rolling hills like a tide of death, are the banners of the Torvasian horde. A sea of black and red, thousands upon thousands of them, their polished steel glinting like an evil star under the setting sun. Marcus's final betrayal was not a threat, it was a promise. He had sold our border defenses, our patrol routes, our very future to the most ruthless invaders on the continent. In his mad grab for power, he had doomed us all. The chaos and panic that erupt in the city below are immediate and absolute. The trial of one man is over. The trial of an entire empire is about to begin. 6 months later, the world is no longer one of silk gowns and gilded halls. It is a world of mud, steel, and blood. I stand on a windswept ridge overlooking the Greenwater Valley, the last defensible position before the heartlands of the empire. My crown is no longer a delicate thing of gold and jewels. It is a simple circlet of hammered steel, functional and unadorned. My gown is gone, replaced by articulated plate armor over boiled leather, scarred and dented from a dozen skirmishes. The scent of lavender is a distant memory, replaced by the smell of horse, sweat, and the ever-present metallic tang of fear. The Torvasian horde is encamped across the valley, their bonfires a sprawling, ominous constellation in the twilight. They are disciplined, they are relentless, and they outnumber us 3-1. After Marcus's arrest, the kingdom teetered on the brink of collapse. The nobility he had blackmailed were useless, caught between their own guilt and the approaching enemy. Many fled, taking their wealth with them, but some stayed. Lord Garrett, his mind as sharp as ever, became my chief strategist, transforming the kingdom's finances from a tool of blackmail into a weapon of war. He found money we never knew we had, secured loans from unlikely allies, and funded the forging of new steel and the raising of new levies. My father, slowly recovering, rules from the capital, a grim and resolute anchor holding the political realm together while I hold the front lines. And Alara, my first and most loyal ally, is now my second in command, the marshal of our beleaguered forces. She rides up beside me, her own armor bearing the marks of hard fighting. "Scouts report they're moving their heavy cavalry to the western flank," she says, her voice all business. "They mean to break us at dawn." I nod, my eyes fixed on the enemy camp. They think we're a kingdom of decadent nobles led by a frightened princess. They think we will shatter. "Let them think that," Alara says, a grim smile touching her lips. "They haven't met our queen." She is right. I am not a princess anymore. I am a queen forged in betrayal and tempered in battle. I have died 3 times, but I have been reborn a 4th time, not in a palace, but here on this battlefield. The empire Marcus tried to steal through treachery, I will forge anew through fire and blood. I have stared down my own murderer and won. I will not falter before an army of men who know nothing of my history, of the flames I have already walked through. The war drums begin their nightly rhythm, a promise of violence in the morning. I draw my sword, its polished surface reflecting the last light of day. It feels more comfortable in my hand than a scepter ever did. This is the life I have now, the one I have clawed back from the jaws of fate. There is no guarantee of victory. There is only the battle to be fought, the charge to be led. The ending is not yet written. But this time, I choose my own.